No one is smarter than everyone. Let's continue to get better together. And welcome, everyone, to yet another edition of Tim Talks. Today is a very, very special Tim Talks. As the podcast continues to grow, I have some dear friends. And when I say dear friends, I'm talking about a high school. I'm talking about Northern Kentucky. I'm talking about the old Florence Fitness Center and World Gym, the old Boone County High School and Connor High School way back. My dear friends that are now doctors. And just amazing as life goes on to see how both Marco Sperandeo, doctor of chiropractic, and Josh Kadetz, a medical doctor, have done in their lives. And they've got something special for us today. I know myself, when people ask my address usually is Delta, as I usually fly around the country to serve our dealers and dealer partners. But it's pretty interesting. And Marco and Josh have an incredible idea, not an original idea, because there are other people and other companies doing this. But what I was so excited about and what I wanted you to know is that it is unique, that I would argue as we start getting into our 40s and 50s and 60s, obviously men's health, your health is more important than ever. There's been so many scientific studies. The more muscle density you have, the better your diet and nutrition are, the longer you're going to live. So without further ado, I cannot wait to unpack this with just some dear old friends. I'll finish with this, but I was talking to my son who just graduated from Arizona State, and he was a little nervous about going from school life into life school. And I told him the story that Mark and I had just reconnected. And I'm like, Kyle, it's crazy when you're friends in your younger years. Mark and I have not talked for almost 30 years. It's been about 27 years. In fact, Mark was the last person that I physically saw and talked to before I jumped in my 1978 Monte Carlo, full of gas, and headed to Atlanta to find my girlfriend and now wife. So without further ado, Dr. Marco, Dr. Joshua Kadetz, welcome to Tim Talks.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for having us on your show.
Yes.
My name is Dr. Marco Sperandeo. I'm a DC, Doctor of Chiropractic, and this here is...
Hey, thank you, Tim, for the warm introduction. I really do appreciate that. My name is Joshua Kadetz. I am a physician, board certified in emergency medicine, also family medicine as well.
Yeah, and I just, and what we're going to talk about today is the project that you're working on. What I find not only interesting, but very thoughtful is you're not just, you don't just have an idea and you're just going to wing it. You don't just have an idea and you're going to, just throw it out there for consumption. You're taking time to plan, and we're talking about something that you're preparing for in the next 9 or 10 months. So, Marco, could you elaborate a little bit about your vision, men's health, maybe some misconceptions out there, and what you and Josh are going to bring to the market?
It's interesting that you just brought that up, because this morning I was watching the Joe Rogan Experience, and he was on his talk show with another individual, and they were discussing about how crazy it is now that bodybuilding, or just taking care of yourself and eating right and keeping your body healthy as we age, is now viewed as a right-wing agenda, right? And I found that very interesting. Look, none of this stuff, I'm not going to get into any politics, but none of this stuff deals with any politics, okay? It's neither a right or a left agenda, right? And the fact is that I posted that on my Facebook, right? And I wrote that, hey, look, I'm 51 years old, okay? I will be 52 in October. I take no medication besides TRT, right? Testosterone replacement therapy. I take no medications for my cholesterol. I take no medications for high blood pressure. Absolutely, I am dependent. I am not dependent on any medications whatsoever. And you're absolutely right, Tim. You keep your body strong, and you keep your movement strong. Right. Once your movement fails in life, everything else is going to collapse. Right. So you are absolutely right about that. So I'm going to throw the mic over to Dr. Joshua Kadetz and let him discuss a little bit more about our vision and how we started MDDC Talk, which is our own podcast, and what we plan in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. So about 13 years ago, I just finished my residency and I started my own primary care office right around the Fort Campbell / Hopkinsville, Kentucky area. And men's health has always been a forefront in what I wanted to do. And so I gradually started doing that in my own office. And the issue is there was still this stigma attached back then to men using testosterone. It's actually still a controlled substance, which is kind of, and that's just from the abuse potential that was in the 70s and 80s. But when we look at women's health and they're taking Premarin, which is an estrogen combination, that's not controlled. So there was still this stigma attached to it. A lot of people really weren't ready for a lot of men to start thinking about their health. And the problem is that the typical patient would come in and see me. They would have issues with anxiety and depression. They were overweight, low sex drive, and unable to really get an erection. And so they were embarrassed. They didn't know what to do. So they come in to see me for basically Viagra. And so I would take that patient aside. I'm like, why don't we try something different? Let's check all your hormone levels and find out if this could be the underlying issue. And subsequently it was. I found it in probably 95% of patients that would come in and present to me that way. And so that's when my love for men's health and TRT started. And I had the background. I started working out at a very young age. I got into athletic performance, specifically with bodybuilding. And then at that time in 2010, I was ultra running. I was running ultra marathons all over the country and world. And so I wanted to help. And I did, and I loved exactly what I did, but there was still that stigma associated with it. A lot of patients weren't coming in. They were seeing the urologist or they were seeing someone else for ED medicine or seeing a psychiatrist for anxiety medicine or depression medication. And at that time, the only med really out there, and you saw the commercials inundated with it, was the Androgel, which is a gel that you rub on topically. And that's failed miserably over the years. It's not even used. Men's health and TRT started to springboard back in 2017. And at that time, Marco and I got reconnected. I was actually working in an urgent care in northern Kentucky, and he came in. And I was so disgusted with what I was doing in the urgent care because it was also a weight loss clinic. And I'm having these men that are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and even 60s come in to get an amphetamine drug so they could lose weight. And after a couple of times seeing these patients and giving them those medications, I said, hey, wait a minute. Why don't we bring you over to the other side? I'll run your insurance and let's check everything out, because you shouldn't be on weight loss medications if you have high blood pressure or diabetes or have a predisposition to heart disease. I mean, it's almost like you're playing Russian roulette. It can cause severe cardiac consequences. So I remember this one patient came in, 5'10", 290, 58 years of age, smoked. We checked all of his levels. His testosterone was low. I put him on a little bit of testosterone replacement, talked to him about a little bit of dieting, also checked his insulin-like growth factors, and we found that his growth hormone was a little low, so I started replacing it with a growth hormone secretolog. We'll get into all that later. And I saw him 6 months later. He lost 100 pounds, and he looked incredible. And he had been going to that weight loss clinic in northern Kentucky for 2 years and didn't lose any weight. And so when Marco and I reconnected again, I said, Marco, we need to revisit our vision of opening a clinic to treat not only men, but have a clinic to really for longevity, really for anti-aging and overall health.
No, I
You hit it right on the dot right there with the sorry, Tim, with the anti-aging. The point that I was trying to make about me being almost 52 years old and not being on any medication, well, there's only one common denominator there. And that is I've been weight training, I've been lifting, and I've been eating semi-healthy or healthy, for since the age of 15, right? So I contribute all of my success and health today from what I did in my past, right? And what I continue to do, right? So that's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we do have some B-roll shots, so our listeners and viewers can see Josh, when he was on stage, and obviously Marco, quite frank, at 49 years old. So when Marco talks about, it's one thing to do as I say, but another thing to do as I do. These guys know what they're talking about. I looked up to these guys when I was 15 years old. I met Marco when I was 15. I'll never forget the first day. Then
you were at McDonald's and I was at Taco Bell.
Yeah. I was at McDonald's. Yeah, you were at Taco Bell. But you walked into the gym, and I used to wear the really low cut. And you're like, I don't know who that dude is, but he's got big traps. And then the rest is history. And and we went off from there. But I want to touch on something that I think, and it's remarkable because there's such a need for this. The drug companies and big pharma, like you said, Josh, just want to put everybody on amphetamine. Speed up their heart rate, and it literally is killing people. So can you explain, because we have that stigma of testosterone and performance enhancing drugs in sports and the do's and don'ts, but the difference, there's a drug that's probably the largest testosterone replacement in the country, and that is Nutrigenics, which the main ingredient in Nutrigenics is testofen, and that's, I believe, a synthetic. I want you to touch on that, but let's talk about the difference between testosterone replacement therapy and, going to get, 400 cc's of Anavar or something back in the day, as Josh said, the 70s and 80s, the bad stigma, the drug deals in the gym locker room, the blood work and all the above. The difference between the two, I think is huge, and we have to touch on.
Tim, thank you for that introduction. Marco, let me go first real quick, and then you can touch on this a little bit. The thing is that, I think testofen is a good or Nutrigenics is a great product. I mean, Frank Thomas is their poster boy, great baseball player for the Chicago White Sox. Man, I loved watching him growing up. The thing that I don't like about I think Nutrigenics is a great supplement and a great potential medication for TRT. But the key is getting in to see your provider, getting your levels checked, and doing this in a healthy way. Marco and I were literally talking yesterday about people that we know that are not with us anymore, that are our age. And it's so scary. So anytime we're going to go on any sort of androgen or testosterone, or like a Nutrigenics, or even an over-the-counter DHEA, the problem is that we become hypercoagulable, meaning our bodies are more responsive to form clots. Just like women, when they go on birth control, one of the biggest side effects they have is a blood clot. So you really got to get checked out. You need to see a provider. Don't do this stuff on your own. Seek professional help, and then make that decision with your provider. So I think that's key and paramount.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with this product, this thing called testofen and Nutrigenics, but I am familiar with a lot of the products that have been around in the past, right? And there are a dime a dozen. Every 10 years, right? There's about 3 or 4 on the market. Sometimes they even recycle, right? We find out that they don't work. New generation comes in the gyms. They just mark it under a new name, and then they sell it for a while. And then, they go in these cycles like this. And, I'm over-the-counter testosterone boosters, in my opinion, is a waste of your money. It's a waste of your money because, your body is such a machine that it will not let your testosterone levels increase very high for a very long amount of time, right? It shuts it all down, right? It's called the negative feedback loop that we use in physiology. All of our bodies have it. It's how your body keeps your body in homeostasis, which is your internal self being healthy, right? And none of these supplements can account for that. They can't account for the negative feedback loop. Now they may say they do. They say, "Oh, we put this in there because it will block, the hypothalamus from signaling, your negative feedback loop." Well, let me see it. Let me see the lab work on this, right? Let me see the lab works on, how the stuff increased. And one thing to remember out there, right? Because I've seen this over the internet before when I've seen speakers on like products, these natural products. They will show lab work, right, on their site, and then have the bottle right here, right? One hand is like this, the other one is like this, right? Here's the thing: you don't know where that lab work came from, right? You don't know. They may even be on testosterone replacement therapy and going and getting their lab work checked and just showing you a piece of paper and saying this stuff works, right? You don't know that, right? So one thing is for sure is that TRT works, right? And when you are using testosterone replacement therapy, what you are using is not some testosterone off of the street, right? Or some ester spinoff, right? You are using a bio-identical testosterone to your body's own testosterone that it recognizes, and it has the completely the same effects as your body releasing testosterone, right? So if that makes any sense, right? So that would be my spin on it. What do you think, Dr. Kadetz?
Yeah, you landed on several things I think that are very valid and good. The studies that we've seen with testofen, it seems to me that it turns on a mechanism in the brain that tells your body to produce more testosterone. Because we know that testofen is really the only supplement that's out on the market that is marketed by basically anytime you turn on ESPN, you're going to see a commercial. And it's very good. You're right. It doesn't get those levels. Like, for instance, if you came in and a normal testosterone level for a man between the age of 35 and 55 is 400 to 740. Let's say they come in at 360. They go on testofen for 3 months, taking it as the provider and what's recommended on the bottle. We can get those levels up to maybe 550, 510, and they'll start feeling better. But what we want to offer is what Marco talked about, replacing your bioidentical hormones. And by replacing bioidentical hormones, we can not only maximize your levels, but optimize those levels to where you need to be and what you want to be. Because what we want to do is get our patients active, more functional, be better at work, be more productive at work, have a better work-life balance with family, and feel good. Not to come home from work on a Friday afternoon, and yes, it's the weekend, and it's 5:30 at night, and the last thing you want to do is go to your kid's soccer game or football game or a football practice that I'm going to later on tonight. You just want to lay on the couch and turn the TV on. You won't feel that way. After you start therapy, we're going to maximize those levels and make sure, even if you're at 550 and you're still not feeling where you want to be, we'll get you up to that 700, 800, 900, and maybe be a little super therapeutic, which means just a little more than high. But we're also going to check all your levels to make sure there's no adverse consequences going on with your body, making sure your blood pressure's good, making sure when we do routine blood work, because we know testosterone and going on testosterone replacement will cause you to have what's called polycythemia. It'll produce more red blood cells and more hemoglobin. So we need to watch that. And more importantly, check your prostate. Make sure we're checking your prostate and your PSA labs frequently, because we know that testosterone can cause and lead to BPH, which is benign prostatic hypertrophy, which can cause cancer in men eventually. And it's the number 2 cause of cancer in men is prostate cancer. So we're going to check those routinely, at least every 3 months. And so that's our goal. Our goal is to get the patient functioning in society, functioning at work, functioning at home, and being available for life.
No, I love it. And I want you to kind of give us a whiteboard in just a second of what that looks like. But there is zero doubt zero doubt. And since I reconnected with Marco over the last month or so, couple months, and we started talking about that, just talking about it has motivated me. And I know, Josh, you've changed your body a couple times. You went from competing. I'll never forget, the NPC national qualifier when we were kids, and you were thinking about going pro and being a pro bodybuilder, and then transitioned your body to an endurance runner and ultra endurance running, and then now you're transitioning back again. Just shows you what the mind can do when it's set. And I know that I've been hitting it harder in the gym since talking to Marco, because I walked by that mirror at 51 years old, and I've got 2 abs. So hopefully I'll get 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe that little. And man, I'm telling you, you just feel better. Everything around you. You walk into that meeting, that conference room, that boardroom with confidence, versus, as I like to say, a busted can of biscuits walking around. So what do you, which I've been there too, through the years. So tell us a little bit about how that would look like. And I'm going to go ahead and tell all of our listeners, I will be their first client. And then I think it'll be fun to kind of progress and show progression and where we're at. So I'm definitely going to be the first, but it sounds like, you sign up, whether it would be type of a monthly type deal, but having 2 doctors, on call per se, to give you a personal guide depending on your body. These drugs that we were talking about, the Nugenics and Testopins and that are in and all this other stuff. It's one size fits all, but something to you based on your testosterone level. So just give us a little glimpse. We don't have to go into a lot of detail. But 10 months from now, 9 months from now, when we're cranking, you guys have got your foot on the rock, you're ready to go. What for a guy like me, I want to sign up. I want to get going. What does that look like? What's that going to look like?
Yeah, sure. So, right now, Marco and I are going to be writing different protocols for all different types of patients and what we need, and have standardized sets on how to treat certain patients. So if you walked in, the first thing Marco would do is talk to you about your family history, social history. What are your goals? What are your pros and cons about changing up your diet or exercising, and trying to really fit in a program for you? And so it would look like, after you spend a lot of time with Dr. Sperandeo, he would then consult with me, and we would talk about a game plan to get you where you want to be. And again, this is not going to happen overnight. I wish there was something out there that you could walk in and see us and leave that day and feel better and be productive. But it's over a period of time. We're going to get you where you need to be. So you would come in, you would have your first consult with Marco over the internet or over a phone call. You would be able to ask any questions you may have. We're going to have an online portal for our patients to log into, to see their labs, to ask questions, to communicate. We'll have an app they can download on their phone that they can video chat with us at any time when they schedule an appointment. So you'll come in, you'll pay a consult fee. We're also going to bill insurance as well. So we'll have a couple different options. We'll have payment plans and also insurance. Also, we're going to have our own labs. So we'll send you a kit in the mail. You'll do a finger stick. We'll get that lab sent out. We'll be able to check your total testosterone level, your cholesterol level, your PSA, and your CBC, which is what we need to be doing. We're also going to, after you start therapy, we'll check your estrogen levels. We know that estradiol can be raised in some patients, and they may need to go on a medication to help block that. But that's down the road after you've been on therapy for 2 to 3 months. And you'll just have frequent consults with us about every 2 weeks until we get you where you need to be. And then we'll have a maintenance plan.
No, that's amazing, because there's so much unknown. There's so much. The reason there's so many commercials on ESPN is because that drug is a multi-billion-dollar drug. Because people are just, we live in a microwave society, and I believe I'm so excited about this, ladies and gentlemen. Personally, excited about this. Obviously, I've got history with these guys. They're old friends, but someone that really, I always say, look, I want to talk to somebody that's on the other side of the minefield, not that's walking through for the first time. And both Dr. Joshua Kadetz and Dr. Marco have walked through the minefield. Even with and I know Marco doesn't like the word diet. He likes nutrition, setting up plans. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm 51 years old. My daughter's 27. She's married. I'm hoping for grandbaby soon. And my son has met the love of his life. I want to be around, at 85 and in decent shape. I don't know if you guys have seen Stallone at 76, but I promise you, Stallone's not on Testofen. I promise you that Stallone is on some sort of TRT, although I don't know. I'm making a statement. Let me just fully disclose. I don't know what, if anything, he's on, but at 76, the guy's in incredible shape. And I do know that when you feel better waking up in the morning and you feel better about yourself, everything else is better. And guys, I want to thank you for coming on. And as we land the plane, is there a final thought? Is there something that you guys just want to make sure that the people, the listeners, that guy that's maybe he's sitting around and staring, and he's 15, 20, 30 pounds overweight, buying that 6-pack at the convenience store, talk to him for a minute. And because there's a lot of those out there. So just I'll let you guys land the plane.
I just want to say one thing. Look, Dr. Kadetz and I have a podcast, right? It's called MDDC, MD for medical doctor, DC for doctor of chiropractic, talk, MDDC talk. And we make videos on all of this stuff. Everything that you just talked about right there, we touch on our videos. Our latest video was on diabetes type 2, which is totally related to the diet, right? We have one on TRT. We have one on estrogen control. So there's where I'm going to leave it, right? I'm just going to throw that out there and say, if you've been thinking about this for a while and you don't know which direction to go and you're still making decisions, please, man, just type in MDDC Talk, YouTube, your computer, and it will bring you straight to our videos. And then pick the ones you want to watch, right? And then you can contact us, you can email us, and we'll willing to take that responsibility and get in touch with you.
And we'll put that in. We'll put that link, that MDDC Talk link, right there underneath this podcast. As you know, this podcast is available on Apple Podcasts and anywhere that you can get your podcasts. Josh, final thoughts?
I do, and this kind of goes back to your last question. What do we do with that individual 53, 54 years old, overweight, laying on his couch, wants to go to the gym, has been wanting to get in shape for years. But the problem is it's almost like when you first jump into a cold pool. You're a little scared. You don't want to do it. But finally, when you jump in after about 15, 20 seconds, guess what? You're used to the water. We're going to be there to kind of guide you through everything and take small steps. So please don't have that kind of inhibition, not wanting to do something. All you have to do is send us a text on the phone, click on our link, and schedule an appointment once we're up and running. And we're going to have a team of people to kind of guide you through the process. And it's not like you got to get in the gym right away and start doing all these different things. It's about small steps leading to an overall lifestyle change. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not like if you see this guy wanting to quit smoking, throws it away and doesn't do any nicotine replacement. Guess what? He's back smoking again in a couple months later. We're going to do this over a slow period of time because we know behaviorally that's what causes change. And that's what we're about. We want to get you to where you want to be, and we're going to have the staff to guide you.
I love it.
Behavior consistency. That's what we aim to look at. Behavior and consistency.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, Dr. Josh, Dr. Marco, thank you for your time. We are going to package this up and get it out. We're going to put your link to your podcast there. As this progresses, as you're ready, I will raise my hand and be the first. If I can be the first, I'm all in. But thankful. This is needed. This is needed. There's a lot of people. Yeah, and guys, there's a lot of people like us, and especially you, used to compete, back in the day, and life happens, kids, jobs, stress, all of the above. And then before you know it, you look in the mirror and you're like, who in the world is this guy? So having someone to come alongside them along this way, to encourage them, because again, I have been encouraged in working harder and truly looking at my nutrition just since having conversations. So thank you for being on Tim Talks, and we will do whatever we can, because in the spirit of business and everything we do in the automotive side, as we always say on Tim Talks, listen, no one is smarter than everyone. So let's just get better together. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for having us.